This is Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Chargers were down 14 points in the fourth quarter last night on the road against the Chiefs, but they came all the way back to shock Kansas City 29-28 to clinch their spot in the AFC playoffs and pull into a tie with the Chiefs for the AFC West lead. The Raiders hit the road for Week 15 there in Cincinnati, while the 49ers stay home to host the Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. The Sacramento Kings are in action at home tonight against the Golden State Warriors. Coverage of that one on Sports 1140 begins with game night at 5:30. Kings Live is at 6:30. Tip-off is slated for 7 o'clock. It's 7:01. Time to put your lights up. If you haven't, Squeaky Clean can hang. Visit squeakyclean.com. Those are your top stories. Now time for the second hour of The Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning, morning, morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
And here's another turnover by Durant. Grabbed by Bielitsa, leads to Heel. Flying two-hand flush for Buddy Buckets, and the score is tied for a third time. We're even at 17 apiece. Kings on a 6-1 answer after trailing by 5 at 16-11. Dribble handoff to Bogdanovic. Steps left, launches for three. Nothing but net. So pretty when Bogey gets it up there with that high trajectory. He missed his first three-point attempts in the first half. A lot of Warrior fans standing. This is a dandy. Here comes Buddy Hield with a drive, goes to the window, left hand. He's got the hoop, a new season scoring high. 28 points for Buddy Hield, 12 of 19 from the floor. Game tied at 113 apiece. Now 2:15 to play in the quarter. We're now going to play the final 0.3 of a second. So Shumpert on the near side will try to put it in play. So you have to assume that they're going to try to find a way to curl Buddy Hield around, and that he might be the guy who launches it. It'll be bang, bang, I can guarantee you that. James Williams ready to hand the ball to Shumpert. He does. Shumpert fakes to the rim, throws it inside to Cauley Stein. He was held up, and the ball was deflected. Ball game is over. They tried to go inside to Cauley Stein and wanted to try to get a quick turn and a score, but the ball was deflected. Time expires. 0.3 of a second is barely the blink of an eye.
I think Dave has always done a really good job with his teams, going back to Memphis and now Sacramento. He's a really good offensive mind. I think they have more depth than they've ever had in Sacramento now. And their young guys are really coming along. Hield and Fox are a really good backcourt, and they've both taken a step up this year. I'm really happy for them. They've been through a long, tough climb, but it looks like they've got something going, and they're a tough team to beat now.
Thought we had them up 5, but they're making plays. And give credit to the Kings, man. It's like a whole new team this year with the way they move the ball, with how they push the pace, and with the type of athletes they play with. Just know it's not an off night when you play these guys. It should be definitely in the playoff on all you.
How do you feel about Klay Thompson playing the 3? Warrior fan. Just asking.
He can.
Doesn't really thrive there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he totally can. He's a rangy perimeter player who can defend.
Is it weird if you told me that I had a choice between Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson signing as a free agent this summer with the Kings, that I've got to think about that? Like, I have to think about it. It should be a no-brainer.
From a pure basketball standpoint, yeah, because Kevin Durant is a top 3 scorer ever.
Yeah.
And Klay Thompson is not even in the top 50.
Right.
But from a pure like team building standpoint, it's not outrageous.
Like, I would be ecstatic. Can Golden State throw a max deal? I guess it depends on Durant, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Durant walks. I also think it depends on what they do with Draymond. But Klay has also been on record saying he would accept less than a max deal to stick around.
I think a guy like Klay Thompson, when we're talking about dream scenarios here, is people pay attention to Klay and the fact that when Klay gets hot, he is actually the best offensive player in the game when he gets hot.
His game 6 against Oklahoma City in the 2016 conference finals was unlike anything I've ever seen.
I'm trying to think of any other situations I can remember where Klay Thompson got hot, say like in a short period and scored a lot of points.
Like 60 points in 29 minutes on 11 dribbles.
Not that one. No, I feel like there's another one.
He had a 37-point quarter.
Did he? Oh, did he? Okay.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember that either.
See, but even that, I don't want this to turn into a thing. Like, the Kings in that quarter were playing good defense.
Right.
Like, there were shots where there were guys in his jersey and he was still hitting. And that's just a testament to, like you said, when he gets hot, you got nothing.
In this generation of players, I just don't know that I've ever seen when Klay Thompson, like in the old NBA Jams game, when he gets on fire, I've never seen anybody score like he can. Now, the thing there is that he can go into slumps. He absolutely can miss three-pointers. But here's the other thing about Klay Thompson, too, is and why I think he would be really a dream fit for this team. He can also play really good defense.
He's a
tremendous
sensational defender. He is my barometer for when somebody goes, look how many all defense teams this guy was on. That's not that good of an indicator because Klay has never made an all defense
team. Which is strange.
Very
odd. A little strange. Because Klay's a good defender.
Really
so
good.
So when you're looking at what could make this team, what could put this Kings team over the top, you give them somebody else who can stretch the floor and who can play defense on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
That's Klay Thompson fits that bill.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a guy on the text line, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that feel this way, saying, "Guys, what are you talking about? Klay versus Kevin Durant? It's just not." You're right. That's not the argument. And it's, as we continue to have fun with this pointless Kevin Durant to the Kings conversation, it's not where my trepidation stands.
I don't want to get it twisted because neither you nor I is saying this. Kevin Durant is a vastly better basketball player than Klay Thompson.
Yes.
Vastly.
Yes. But
that said,
Klay Thompson's also 28. He'll be 29 in February. Klay Thompson, you got to think, and especially with shooters like that, still has another 3-4 years of his prime.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where if you get Kevin Durant, you get the circus, you get the attitude, you get whatever he does in the locker room, you get the drama. He is a magnet for all of this stuff. Whereas a guy like Klay, he's not going to add the skill of Kevin Durant, but to me, Klay Thompson could fit into this system without completely smothering De'Aaron Fox and friends, and you're not going to have that media circus with him.
I think it was Mike Krzyzewski, who's a pretty well-known coach, pretty accomplished, called Klay like the lowest maintenance star he's ever been around.
Right.
And Klay, dude, if you're unfamiliar because you hate the Warriors and everything about them, go watch like a Klay Thompson interview or go read a Klay Thompson. He is the coolest, most relaxed dude.
I think part of that is growing up, much like that's where it's really interesting when you go deeper on the whole Klay Steph story. They both grew up with dads that played professional basketball.
Yeah.
They were both pretty much, literally in diapers, rolling around on an NBA floor. They grew up around it, and they have a better understanding of everything with the media, with locker rooms, with how everything works. From the 916, Klay Thompson without Steph Curry is Doug McDermott. Okay. Okay. Good call.
See, what makes me mad is that people say that when they don't, pay attention.
Right.
They're like, oh, good shooter. He must be Doug McDermott.
It's got to be Doug McDermott. Without Steph. It's horrible. Okay, dude. Kings Warriors tonight, 7 o'clock. Maybe bring an umbrella. Sounds like it will rain. But, of course, thank goodness the game is inside. A lot of things you can use to distract. The Warriors are a very fun team to go in on. We talked earlier about the fat heads with the moon on it, the astronauts, having fun with Steph Curry landing on the moon. But we've completely forgot. About. I mean, we can have some fun, I would imagine, with Draymond Green. Kevin Durant's got, I would, honestly, if I were in, I know that the Kings are too classy for this. I use classy with air quotes. because I don't think this is classless. But how great would it be to have like fatheads not only of the moon landing, but like fatheads of like the meme where like Kevin Durant's pounding on the cell phone? Like just have all kinds of cell phones every single time. Would people recognize that as a burner account?
No.
That would be pretty too deep.
That's a tough, like, you'd get some people who would get it, but that's a tough thing to exploit.
What would you do for
somebody on the internet said that Kevin Durant doesn't have stands, like he's the only superstar without stands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, they said They said he has the fewest stands of any superstar. He has 8 people who stand for him on the internet, and 4 of them are him.
Right, that's the thing.
That made me laugh.
What would you use for Draymond?
I got nothing.
Yeah. Kevin Durant would be easy, just cupcakes.
There's nothing that, yeah, but that's lame. The
Why?
cupcake thing did not work out well for OKC at all.
Well, I mean, none of it's going to work out. You're poking bears, obviously. I'm not counting
the cupcake thing is played out. That's all.
So we can't do the cupcake thing. We can't do the burner phone thing.
You can. I just don't think it's going to have the desired effect.
I'm just holding up big signs that says KD's a B, but just spell out the B word. No, just go there.
Just
the cupcake thing would be fun for us. I hope it's a rowdy crowd, and I really hope tonight. And I was talking to somebody that knows things out at the arena, and they are actually working on things. One idea was like at a theater before intermission ends, they like flicker the lights or have a little a jingle happen so people know that like 5 minutes.
Right.
I really, really hope, you want everybody to go and have a great time. But I really hope people try to make an effort tonight against the Warriors to be back in their seats when the third quarter starts. And I know that's not the easiest thing to say, but you saw versus Minnesota. Minnesota came out, I think, went on a 9-0 run, and it was empty. And I'm not saying the empty...
That's not exclusive to the Kings.
Of course. And I'm not saying because there weren't that many people in their seats, that's why Minnesota went on the run. But I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that doesn't help,
Here goes Dave blaming the fans again.
Blaming the fans. That's right.
It's time to call
I won't be in my seat in the third. I'll show up the fourth.
It's time to call your local Geico agent, Vince Harris, at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050.
We should do signs saying, I love Kevin Durant. That would confuse the hell out of him. That's actually a great point.
It's like, wait.
Yeah, and please don't be cheering Kevin Durant because you want him to sign here.
I think that might be the move.
We'll take a break. Four down territory is next. Are the Chiefs, pictures of Russell Westbrook might work. Are the Chiefs in trouble? Let's rank the Chargers. And I'm very intrigued about this weekend in NFL football, Kyle. I got a couple questions for you there, too. Right here on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHD. 4 down territory. Brought to you by Fire Wings. 21 different flavors to choose from, Kyle. Firewings.com. Just wing it. First down.
First down, sorry.
That's all right.
Working.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs in trouble?
Depends on how you define trouble. Are they in danger of, as you mentioned earlier, possibly going on the road in the first round because they lose the AFC West to the Chargers? Yeah. We talked about this yesterday. It wasn't a given if the Chargers went into Kansas City and beat them last night that the Chargers would win the division. But the Chiefs go into Seattle on the 23rd. That's their next game.
A red-hot Seahawks team that's probably going to be on a 5-game winning streak.
Oh, yeah. And
6, I think.
And in that stadium with those big, loud, stupid fans, and we talked about this too. They haven't looked at. They lost to the Rams 54-51 in that classic game.
Mm-hmm.
Then they managed to beat the Raiders by 7, the Ravens by 3, and lose to the Chargers. They just haven't looked the same since Kareem Hunt did his Kareem Hunting thing. Then he's gone. They haven't looked the same on the field. So when you couple that, if the Chiefs go 1-1 in their next 2, and you look at what the Chargers have in front of them, just on paper, the Chargers have a home game versus Baltimore. Eminently winnable game. And then they go into Denver. Now, the way these games often work out is who the hell knows. But if you're asking me to bet, it's almost a pick 'em to me. And so, yeah, I think the Chiefs are in trouble from that aspect.
I think so, too. That game against Seattle was the hardest game on either of their two schedules.
Yep.
And there is a very real possibility. In fact, I think I would take odds favoring the outcome where the Chiefs go on the road in the first round, which is just a crazy thing to think about considering where they were 3 weeks ago.
So if I put you in a corner, I force you to lay money right now.
Yeah.
You're laying money uncomfortably, but you're laying
on
money
the Chargers winning the division.
On the Chargers winning the division. Man. Second down.
Second down.
Now, where do you rank the Chargers?
And this is interesting. All right, because if you put the Chargers, let's say we put the Chargers as the top team in the AFC. Patriots, Steelers, Chiefs, of which they've beaten 2 of those 3 in the last 3 weeks. Now the question becomes, where do you rank the Chargers with the NFC guys? And that's the Bears, the Saints, and the Rams. They're right in there.
I think they are just below the Saints because even in a vacuum, I think they're just below the Saints.
And just above the Rams?
I think maybe even just below the Rams.
Okay. I would probably go Saints, Chargers, Rams, Bears, and man, you could argue me into flip-flopping all of them. Somebody could come to me and make me an argument, I'm sure, that the Chargers are the best.
Based on if you're going recency bias, yeah, if you're going recently, then I think so. But when you look at the whole picture of the entire year, like the Chargers nearly lost to the 49ers at home. Granted, they didn't have Joey Bosa.
Right.
But they nearly lost to the 49ers at home. They snuck past the Bengals. They had that weird loss to the Broncos in Denver.
Talking about the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've just had some weird games.
That game was in L.A.
Was it?
Yeah. They're playing the Broncos on the road to finish out the season.
Oh, that's even worse.
They lost by 23-22 to the Broncos. They lost
I would have sworn that game was in Denver. Wow.
35-23 at the Rams, and then to open the season, 38-28 home versus the Chiefs. They actually have 2 home losses and 1 road loss. Yeah,
it's just that those games are just – and so even some of their wins have just been very, very weird.
But I'm being argumentative here, and I know it's recency bias too, but – could you not make a similar argument and say, well, let's say that Bronco loss is their albatross. I mean, are we still allowed to go back and say the Saints lost to the Buccaneers 48-40 and then barely beat them last time around?
Yeah, the Saints, they did not look great the last 2 weeks.
And the Cowboys shut them out in that first half too.
Yep.
I don't know how. I know this. I know if they were playing a round robin, we're talking Bears, Rams, Saints, and Chargers. If they were playing a round robin, I would do everything I could to not put money on any of those games.
Yeah,
and isn't that great?
Yes,
that's what we want.
Yeah, it's very top heavy this year, but the top is going to be a lot of fun.
Third down.
Third down.
And I'm not sure we can't put the Seahawks in that conversation too.
Well, if you put the Seahawks in that conversation, don't you have to put the Cowboys in there too?
Maybe.
Cowboys won
the
Seahawks.
The Seahawks have 5 losses by a combined like 12 points. That's insane. What's the third down question? What is your game of the weekend?
That's interesting. And by the way, game of the weekend, other than Chiefs Chargers, which may end up being the great one. A lot of nominees here, but we're low on time. I'm going to go Patriots in Pittsburgh. That's just a good old fashioned AFC blue blood battle. I don't have the weather in front of me, but I hope it's snowing just because. Right now, the Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. Steelers coming off not looking good. And am I hearing James Conner's probably going to be back this weekend, I think?
Don't know. I haven't heard anything.
But the Steelers have lost 3 in a row in Denver. They lost that home game to the Chargers. And then in Oakland, that was the big one. So you got to win this one if you're the Steelers. This has to be a win.
I got Colts Cowboys. I am super interested in that game. It's in Indianapolis. Cowboys have won 4 in a row. The Colts just snapped the Texans' 9-game winning streak. That's a game I'm super excited to watch because that Colts offense is very, very good against an excellent Cowboys defense, and both of those teams need that game.
4th down.
4th down. 4th down.
Could this be the best weekend of competitive football yet this season?
I was looking at this last night, just kind of tweaking out on the schedule. If it's not, it's right there. You don't have many stinkers. You got the Cardinals in Atlanta. Falcons are favored by 9.5, but if we're sitting here on Monday and the Cardinals won that game,
I've got Atlanta covering.
Okay,
I'm sorry, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals covering. Like, I wouldn't fall off my chair. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't fall off my chair. The other big line out there is you got a few that are at 7.5. Jacksonville hosting the Redskins. Jacksonville should win that game, but
that is a game that if I see 0 seconds of it, my life will be better.
Right. Vikings hosting the Dolphins. Vikings.
That'll be a fun
win,
game.
But should be a fun game.
Again. Go ahead.
When you go down the list, Kyle, Browns at Broncos should. I'm talking. You tell me a game that you think you can go. That's just not going to be close. That you're sure. Texans at Jets. Texans should win, but Browns at Broncos. Lions at Bills. Again, even
the Raiders might even get a win this week.
The Raiders are going into Cincinnati playing the Bengals.
The Bengals stink.
Packers at Bears. Bears should kill them, but that's a big-time rivalry game. You mentioned Cowboys, Colts, Dolphins, Vikings, Titans, Giants. The Giants have been on fire lately. Giants are favored in this game.
What sticks out to me is how many games have like real playoff implications. Like the Texans need a win. The Jets are out, but the Texans need a win. The Broncos, they're basically out of it, but they need to win out to have a shot. Raiders Bengals doesn't, but then the Seahawks clinch a playoff spot with a win over the Niners. Packers Bears is obviously huge. I mean, there's all these games that just have massive playoff implications.
We haven't even mentioned Sunday Night Football, Eagles, Rams. Rams are big-time favorites in this one by 11.5, but you're talking about the defending Super Bowl champions and a lot of pride there. And then speaking of pride and all that, Monday Night Football, Saints in Carolina. We don't have time to get into this, but Cam Newton has a broom that was sent to him after the Saints swept the Panthers last year in all 3 games. And somebody sent him a broom, and he thinks he knows who it is, and there's been all kinds of trash talk back and forth. These teams hate each other.
The other very interesting thing about that Eagles-Rams game is that Carson Wentz got hurt against the Rams last year in L.A., and this year they find out he has a fractured back and won't be playing against the Rams in L.A. That's a weird coincidence.
Here comes Nick Foles. Old BDN coming in to save the day, baby. We'll take a break. When we come back, Sean Salisbury joins us, Dave Richard at 8:05, and then we're going to simulcast with our friends Brock and Salk up in Seattle at 8:35 on the Niners Seahawks. So Drive Sports 1140 KHTK.
This is Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Chargers came roaring back from 14 points down in the fourth quarter last night to shock the Chiefs 29-28 at Arrowhead Stadium to clinch their spot in the AFC playoffs. They also pulled into a tie for the AFC West lead. The Raiders hit the road for Week 15 in Cincinnati, while the 49ers stay home to host the Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. The Sacramento Kings are in action tonight at home against the Golden State Warriors. Coverage of that one on Sports 1140 begins with game night at 5:30. Kings Live is at 6:30, and tip-off is slated for 7 o'clock. It's 7:35. Time for Squeaky Clean to clean your gutters. Visit squeakyclean.com. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's The Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Sean Salisbury coming up in just a couple minutes. Dave Richard from CBS Sports is going to work with you on your fantasy teams. Get your questions in here pretty soon because it's going to be packed. It has been the last couple weeks. All guests brought to you by the Firewings Hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. Kyle, as we get to Sean, I'm sure most of you saw this the other night. There was a game in Charlotte, and the Hornets hit a shot against Detroit. And Malik Monk, along with Bismack Biyombo, ran from the bench on the court to celebrate Jeremy Lamb hitting that shot. Well, There was a technical foul called on the play, and cameras caught Michael Jordan getting on Malik Monk's case, and not once but twice he smacked him in the back of the head. Now, let me be very clear. The first time I actually think he missed. The second time Jordan connected. And when I say smack, I mean
it was a love tap on the back of the head.
Yeah, I was just going to say like a light, like you see him kind of swing, but it was, it
was like a joking like, get out of here.
I did find it interesting though, because am I correct in assuming Michael Jordan is literally the only owner in sports that could get away with that?
No, I think Mark Cuban could do it.
You do?
Yeah.
You think if Mark Cuban smacked Dennis Smith Jr. in the back of the head
in that fashion where they were clearly like laughing and joking about something? Yeah, I think so.
I strenuously object, to borrow from Demi Moore and A Few Good Men. I would like to think so.
If it was a very serious moment, then I don't think anybody. I think even Michael Jordan, had he smacked him while yelling at him, that would have been a problem. But it was so clear they were like laughing and Malik Monk, made a small mistake and like, hey, get out of here. Like, I didn't think of it.
I want to be clear that in my opinion, Michael Jordan could have dragged Malik Monk on to center court by his ear and then done like the backbreaker, like in the WWE.
No,
because he's Michael Jordan.
No,
Michael Jordan can do whatever he wants.
No, he can't.
In my opinion.
No,
Michael Jordan.
No.
I'm not. I want to.
Don't underestimate outrage culture, dude.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, you are.
That's why
You are badly. I need to get to Sean. I also need to let you know that it's time to call your local Geico agent, Vince Harris, at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050.
As you get to Sean, let me be clear. I did not say everybody would be okay if Michael Jordan did that. I'm saying I would be okay with that because he's Michael flippin' Jordan. I just wonder, as you said, if Mark Cuban had done that, if that would have been an issue. So, again, to reiterate, I have no problems with what Michael Jordan did at all. He's Michael Jordan, and neither did Malik Monk either. Malik Monk was laughing about it. But I could just absolutely see another owner doing that. Again, same exact scenario, kind of laughing, going back and whatever. Obviously, part of it is that Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. And understands, he used to be a player. I don't know if you know this.
I want to amend my statement.
Okay.
Mark Cuban could not, given all the stuff that's happened within the Mavericks organization.
Sure.
So Mark Cuban was a bad example.
Sure.
I think Mark Cuban is one of few that could not get away with it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's my mistake for just picking him out.
It's okay.
If Joe Lacob does that to Steph Curry, I don't think anyone cares.
I don't think anyone should care.
Sure.
I think people care. It's like Sean Salisbury cares about you. He cares about me. Sean Salisbury, and this is what I love about him, because sometimes I'll listen to his podcast. I'll listen to his guest spots around the country. Sean does, and this is an unofficial count, 707.
My man, you might want to turn your mic on to me. You sound like you're in a tunnel about 18 miles away.
Oh, hey.
I cannot hear you.
Buddy, can you hear
There
me?
you go.
There we go.
There you go.
That's my fault.
That's
my fault.
I was just saying in my intro that I think Sean does about 750 spots a week, and I listen to more of them than I probably should, according to my wife. But I love Sean, and he brings it in every. Sean, I really love seeing on Twitter. Occasionally, I'll see somebody saying, "Sean really brought the fire to Wacky and Tobacco in North Carolina on afternoon radio," and I love it because you don't discriminate between number 2 market or number 200 market. You love talking sports. It's a lot of work. I get it. And you bring it every single time, and you bring it to us every Friday at 7:35. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks. Yeah, doesn't matter, man. You're judged by the last time you were on, and I don't ever want somebody in a small town in Carolina or a big city in San Francisco or what have you to look at me any different other than I'm prepared and passionate. So, and I enjoy it. So I'm grateful to do it, man. Good to be on with you.
I have a 2-part question for you. Very simple. Number 1, do you think Kyler Murray should have won the Heisman? Would you have voted for him? And number two, if Kyler Murray, and I'm talking to a guy, by the way, who not only used to play NFL football, not only coaches quarterbacks, but also was a multi-sport star at USC, including football and baseball. Sean, if you were advising Heisman Trophy winner Kyler Murray, would you, if he told you he wanted to play football, where would you tell him to go?
Well, I never ever would ever talk anybody out of it. Ultimately, it's his decision. But you mentioned the word advice. If I was advising him, I would I would lay out the pros and the cons. You know, you can be a hero quicker in the NFL. And I'm talking about if you're a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Most people that come in, there's no minor league system, so you're right with the big boys. But for him, specifically for Kyler Murray, 3 years from now, he'll be the starting center fielder for the Oakland Athletics. And he's a 5'2". I mean, he may not have power of 4 can run. He's got a hose for an arm as a baseball player. We know I've never seen Dave in all my years. And I've watched and covered Vic, played against Steve Young. I'm just talking about quarterbacks. I've never seen, I'm not even sure a player, but a quarterback to get from 0 to 80 in one step quicker than Kyler Murray with football in his hand. I've never seen it. And he's an accurate passer, but he's very slight of body. He would not be the passing would be a lot more difficult on him at the next level. But he doesn't lose, man. In high school, at Allen High School, he never lost a game. So there was nothing that if you actually put him in the NFL and said, he may be one of those guys you put him in to give him a chance, it's like, ooh, you never get the job back. But I don't think teams would take the risk in the first 5 rounds. My advice to him would be, go be a superstar in baseball. You can play 20 years. And here's the great thing. It's much more difficult if he went and said, I want to play football. I'm going to prove to the world, just like I won the Heisman, that I can be a football quarterback. If you played 3 years and it didn't work and you were running, you're scrambling around and getting shipped from team to team and getting cut, and then all of a sudden, because, I think Roger Staubach might be, if I'm not mistaken, the only Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who's in the Hall of Fame. As far as modern times, I can't remember another one that won the Heisman Trophy and is in the Hall of Fame since the 60s. And maybe I'm crazy, but to me, that Kyler Murray, and you could play football, but you can't go from football to baseball. You're out of baseball for 3 or 4 years. Going back and trying to hit a curveball would be brutal. And, it's ever changing. To me, if you were going to do it, we've seen Winky do it. Josh Booty tried it. Danny Ainge. Go to the other sport and baseball, and if all of a sudden you can't hit a curveball in 4 years, come back and try your hand at it.
Sure.
He'll still be fast. He'll still be young. So to me, it's simple advice. He wouldn't be but a 2nd or 3rd day draft pick, and he may make a team because he's a dynamic player, but he's got a chance to be a superstar in baseball, first-round pick, all that money. Go play baseball. Even if I was his quarterback coach and all that ego that I'd say I can get you to the next level, he's made to play center field or outfield in baseball. He's got to play baseball. And the second part,
mm-hmm.
Dave, I would. Kyler Murray deserved the Heisman Trophy, but I could have made a case for Haskins and Tua.
Right.
Now, I would have voted for Tua because the fact that he had 200 less snaps, that's on Nick Saban. That's not on Tua. But what happened is he lost it on the last day. We always go by that last visual. Not that Kyler Murray won it with one game because he played well, but Big 12 defenses are a little bit simpler than most. But with Tua not playing and then Hurts coming in and winning the game, the last thing people saw, 90% of the voters, was, ooh, he got hurt, didn't play well when he was playing, and the backup came and won the game. So I think that the people kind of held it against him. I probably would have cast my vote for Tua, but I said it was close, and I could give it to either one, and Haskins could make a case too. I had no problem with Kyler Murray winning the Heisman Trophy. Dynamic player, probably the most dynamic player in the country. I thought Tua, for the most part all season long, was the best player against the best defenses.
Sean Salisbury joining us. I do want to ask you football from last night. Kyle and I were talking before the game on the show yesterday morning. If the Chargers were to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, they're now both tied at 11-3. The Chargers have the Ravens still to go at home. The Chiefs have to go into Seattle, and then the rest of them, the other games cupcake for both of them. There's a legit chance that the Chiefs could lose the 1 seed to the Chargers and start out on the road. When you look at Phillip Rivers and you look at the L.A. Chargers, are you all in on them, or do you think it's just a hot streak and they'll fizzle out?
No, well, their DNA in the past Dave, would say that they'll find a way to screw it up.
Right.
But if I go by that, then I've got to tell you that Kansas City isn't going to win at home in the playoffs if they're home, that the Houston Texans are going to screw up and go, that they're going to screw up because they haven't been able to do it. If I do that, and then if I go by that, then it's doing the Patriots and they're going to be in the Super Bowl. Okay, I mean, if we're going by history. So I think every team's different every year. And I think the DNA's changed. It showed me also last night, Anthony Lynn, he had no hesitation. There was no fear going for 2 points. None. He has really done a hell of a job with them, sending a loud message that things are changing here with the L.A. Chargers. We ain't doing it the old way. And there was no hesitation. They went in and executed it. Phillip Rivers may be the best we have in this league at getting hit in the mouth and throwing under duress. He's been so good because he can't move, so he better be good at it.
Right.
He was phenomenal on the last 2 drives. And Dave, he made 2 throws on the bender post to Benjamin 2 times.
Yep.
That were the first one when the middle of the field was open and he threw it was spectacular.
Bro, he wasn't open, right? I mean, seriously, he threw. You always say this all the time when you come on, that the great quarterbacks are able to throw their receivers open. I thought about you last night. Tell me that wasn't a prime example.
He did it both times, and then the second time when he had a trail man coverage, he threw him open again. That ball was in the air for 10, 15 yards before Benjamin's head came around. Mm-hmm. That's how if you want to teach it, that's exactly how you do it. This is a 37-year-old that's swinging it. The truth is, if it wasn't for Mahomes' season or Breeze, Phillip Rivers is the MVP of the league, but he ain't going to win it because the other two. So I think the Chargers are real, man. When I go on a show in Kansas City every Thursday, and I told him, I said, the Chargers are playing better on both sides of the ball than any team in the AFC. I'm talking about when you combine both.
Sure. Because
the Chiefs' defense isn't very good. The Patriots have struggled. The Steelers have been putrid. The Texans, they struggle on. They're not explosive. They kind of bore you on both sides, but they've got explosive players in certain positions. They've been the best. They have been the best. This is real now, and I don't know what their home field advantage, if they're able to pull it off, isn't that much. But think about the Chiefs. They could go from the 1 seed to the 5 seed in a hurry. But their offense is explosive enough. Yeah, the Chargers are real. And last night showed me big balls in Cowtown, brother. They were off the charts down the stretch last night. I thought it was over. Just goes to show you why you can't quit on a great football player. And Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer and a great football player.
Sean Salisbury with us, and we'll stay in the AFC West, a team that is not involved in the playoffs, and that's your Oakland Raiders. And when I look at you, Sean, obviously we talk a lot about the Raiders up here, but whether we're talking about the Mack trade, the Cooper trade, Gruden being on board, now Reggie McKenzie let go towards the end of the year, and now the lawsuit being filed by the city of Oakland, and it sounds very likely that the Raiders will not play in Oakland next year, and who the hell knows where they'll go. Do you see a method behind the madness to the on-field, at least, moves for this team, or does it embarrass you as a longtime lover of the Oakland Raiders?
I'm bothered. I mean, early in the season, Dave, I hated it. I did not like the Khalil Mack start of it. I thought, man alive, why are we doing this? Then you're going to have to just go out and replace the guy you just got rid of. And then the next move, and the next move. And think about it. Look at the difference Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper have made for their respective teams. Both of them in first place. Both of them going to make the playoffs. And both of those guys have been impactful to their teams on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, that bothers me. But then I'm trying to see the forest through the trees. And John's a little, Jon Gruden, we knew he had the power when you pay him $100 million. That Reggie's time was short there, and John was going to get what he wanted. No matter who they bring as a GM, John's going to be the decision maker. It bothered me big time. And I thought, you know what, and it bothered me when Jack was gone. But you know what, they made changes. It's the NFL. Coaches know this. Players know this. I hope John does it right personnel-wise. I do.
Yep.
So I'm trying to ride with it. I get it. I hated it when it happened. But once the season was going on, and I'm not a tank type of guy, but they're playing really good football right now. Better. Carr's proven that maybe he is the franchise guy we thought he was, and he's starting to get into rhythm again. And maybe, just maybe, John has a plan, and I'm willing to wait on the plan. And none of us like to wait too long. But I went from hate it, was a loud, outspoken about it, to, okay, all these first-round picks. But now the next step is you better understand personnel and your scouting department and the front office and John himself, who's going to end up making the decision on personnel. better have a great offseason and draft. It better be great, because if you're willing to give up two playmakers, one on each side of the ball, other than Carr, your best player on both sides of the ball, your guy you're replacing them with or the guys you're replacing them with better be damn good. But I do get it. All that money, now they can pour it in and save money to get out there. They're going to be active, I would imagine, in free agency, and obviously very active in the next couple drafts. So I hated it, but I can understand. There's a glimpse of the forest through the trees, and I think that Carr's probably going to last and end up validating them sticking with him, and I hope it does because he's a good kid.
Sean Salisbury with us. Last thing for you, Sean. Haven't talked to you since last Sunday, so my first crack at what's now an old game. The Patriots go into Miami and lose on that miracle play at the end of the game, but Miami had to be close enough to pull off that miracle. Tom Brady absolutely sucks in Miami. It's so strange because you're talking about a guy who's won 5 Super Bowls, who has been in every pressure situation ever, who is thought of by most as the greatest quarterback of all time, but his record in Miami is insanely bad, regardless of how good and mostly bad those Miami teams have been. Are we in the media, and by we, I'm not counting you, I'm talking about dummies like me who never played football professionally, do we make too much out of that? Is it a coincidence or a fluke, or is there something mental there that you just can't put your finger on as a quarterback that's causing this?
I think there's enough evidence to know that somebody, every player, all these stars in a sport, you'll talk to a pitcher. When you listen to Smoltz do the World Series with Joe Buck, he'll talk about a player that he just couldn't get out. And it may be a nondescript player, a guy who's just a guy, said that guy owned me. Everybody has Schilling, and I have talked about a guy who goes, Sean, I couldn't get him out. So it just depends on who it is. And I think it's real because we have enough analytics and evidence to say that, especially when Tom somehow rolls into Miami in December, it's different. Whatever it is, whether it's a roadblock, and maybe it changes we played them on the road in the playoffs, but the Dolphins aren't in any danger of overtaking the Patriots for the division. So it just happens. I don't know why it is, because they've done it with 3 or so different coaches. I mean, it's not like it's the coach that's got his number. There's something there, whether it's mental, and I don't know if it's physical, but they also raise their game whenever Tom Brady comes to town, and he's got to prepare for that every time because he's the king. When you're on top of the mountain, somebody wants to knock you off. But it is real, and that's why this team fights like crazy to get themselves playing at home most of it. But they're dangerous, man. They've struggled at times this year. But if I said, Dave, your mortgage is on the line right now. Your mortgage is on the line. You lose everything. You're going to bet the field or the Patriots in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. And you can't spread the money around, brother.
Right.
Everything you own has to go in to either the Patriots or the field right now. You're telling me you wouldn't consider the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl? Would you be willing to risk betting against Brady outside of Miami, betting against Brady right now to get to the Super Bowl from what you've seen?
I can't bet against Brady or the Patriots until probably Brady retires.
And until they've proven otherwise once January hits. I expect, they got the Jets, they got Buffalo, and then they play Pittsburgh at home, who's struggling mightily in their ability. So if they go 3-0, they're going to be 12-4.
Yep.
They're going to end up more than likely the 2 seed. And the only way they'd have to go is if the Chargers get beat in one of their games, or to Chiefs, whoever it is, then the Patriots are at home through the playoffs again. And it'll be miserable to have to go there, and they make it miserable. So, yeah, you're right. It just happens. And by the way, that last play, it was executed to perfection. Quick pitches, and they didn't over-toss it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you should have never – it would have been an 80-yard throw by Tannehill. It's one of the mistakes. Bill, or the special teams coach, Gronkowski shouldn't have been on the field. No lateral movement. You got to have your best tackler back there. I understand putting him back there if it's a Hail Mary, but you can't put him back there to make a tackle. He stumbled his way through. That was just a bad mistake and a horrible way to lose. But there's always something during a season that either pisses them off or gets them going. They probably have their best practice of the year this week. I would fear the Patriots coming up in January, especially if they hammer Pittsburgh. Look out. And Pittsburgh struggles against the Patriots.
The founder of the Let It Rip Quarterback Academy, host of the Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 from 1 to 4 p.m. our time. You can check it out on the Houston's iHeart app. He is the man, the myth, the legend, and always a phenomenal interview. Our good friend, Sean Salisbury. Sean, we got one more shot at you before Christmas. Have a great week, and we will talk to you next Friday.
Can't wait. Real quick on the way out, those people up in the Bay Area and that your area are lucky. wouldn't it be great to have Kyler Murray's skill set and speed? What a good decision to have to make, huh?
Yep.
Baseball. We'll get a real treat in the next couple of years watching him. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks.
See you, brother. Take care. And I agree with him 100%. Kyler Murray's going to be fun for those Oakland A's. We'll take a break. When we come back, Dave Richard, we got a simulcast with our friends up in Seattle, Brock and Salk, coming up at 8:35, and the Kyle's Cold Hard Facts at 8:45, brought to you by Coors Light. It's The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.